we're going to call to order now that we're recording.
All right, roll call. Andy Hartman,
Present.
Melissa Hens,
Here.
Jed Henry,
Here.
and Jennifer Bonte.
Here.
And Sarah Borgard, not present.
All right, we're going to move into public comment. If there's anyone in Zoom or in person who would care to make public comment.
I think there's somebody in your waiting room, like,
Thank you.
you know,
It's always difficult to manage.
Does Tim
All
want
right, Tim, we are in public comment currently. Is there anything that you would like to speak on? If so, please raise your hand. Or unmute yourself.
Okay. Moving out of public comment, we'll go into reports. First up is committee chairperson. I've got nothing specific to report outside that I've just heard a lot of positives from families and neighbors and just general resident feedback about Parks and Rec this summer and just kids being able to be kids again. So much appreciated. Any committee members have anything to report?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Recreation coordinator,
Andrea and/or Henry are not present today.
and that leaves Mike.
It's me. I just have a few things real quick. We had the naming of Gorse Memorial Field, so a large diamond at Bear Park, take place on, let's see here, July 11th. Okay, can I get everything back here? July 11th, it went really well. Great turnout throughout the morning. We had a little issue with the PA system. We would have about, maybe another 2 minutes or so. I think we had it all squared away, but it all went out pretty much without a hitch. The family was very grateful. We had a number of people even afterwards kind of talking about how grateful they were for the village to be able to do something like this, or at least work with other groups to make this happen. And how wonderful Fran was, his family was towards the community, but also mostly towards the baseball program and the kids. So be up there for years to come, and we actually kind of sparked some conversation about some upgrades to the field and/or other areas, of which a lot of the people in attendance were willing to help pay for. So hopefully we'll have some initiatives here to give people ideas to which ways that we can go to make Bear Park a little bit better each year. So,
Are bleachers part of that conversation?
bleachers are actually already purchased,
Done.
so,
Perfect.
or haven't been purchased, but they have been ordered, not purchased yet. We got put on a number here. So they're literally updating the costs for aluminum or bleachers on the hour. So when I go to the site, I have to put all our information on what we need, and it updates based on their supply. We were 17th to start, which was like 2 weeks ago now, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were 7 on Friday, so we're getting down there to actually get to the point of purchase, providing it's within our scope of what we plan to pay for that program. So the village board did approve that at the last meeting. They did not give a number, so technically the sky's the limit. However, the Bear Park Improvement Fund only has roughly $20,000 in it, so they're obviously fall into that range. But I'm doing my best to try and keep the cost of it down. Even if we get through this, baseball season, really right now we are. I was even thinking about, are there ways, do I wait and try and do this, a larger project or something else like we kind of had planned before. So we'll see kind of where it goes, or if aluminum prices and costs go down, then that's the route we'll go. But I'll keep you all updated when we get to that. The swimming pool for the summer has been great. We started out in June with a really hot summer. The start of July has been actually pretty cold, so they kind of flip-flopped a little bit. But our swim lesson numbers, daily fees, and pool memberships are right in line from where they were in 2019. So that's a good, good measure of how everything's going. Very little complaints. We have had some issues with staffing a little bit here and there. Just people not showing up for shifts or not getting someone to cover for them. But for the most part, we've done a pretty good job at handling some issues that we have. And recreation-wise, I can't speak enough for our staff right now. Andrea and Katarina are knocking it out of the park. Our full-day camp program is averaging roughly 32 kids every week, which is unbelievable if you think about from where we started to like where it is now. And I get nothing but positive feedbacks, whether it be from parents that are in the program, from Paulette, obviously, who's here tonight, who allows us to use her space, but being able to work really closely, obviously for intergenerational purposes as well, which we'll get into later on the program that's on our agenda, but it's just been a phenomenal start to the summer. I always kind of base everything off of numbers, right? And that's kind of my job in regards to like where we're at budget-wise, and I obviously am trying to be out there as well, but I'm not out there as much as they are. But they've done an unbelievable job to bring this program and give kids an opportunity for outdoor summer. So our numbers are above what we had projected already to the state. We're roughly $10,000 under what we had projected for the entire summer, or for the entire year. I'm sorry. So obviously it's hard to project as well. Coming out of COVID was another thing. How many people would be able to be part of this, or how many kids would be able to even have indoors. So we got our budget directed from the village board at 1% increase for next year. And obviously I'm trying to work with that within the numbers as well for the revenue projections, but I see us increasing quite a bit in regards to those projections. So it's exciting. And lastly, I will be gone August 5th through the 14th. So I'll be gone. I won't have a whole lot of cell phone service or anything. It happens to be the same time that Dane is gone. He's actually getting married, who's our park maintenance worker. And Andrea's gone as well. She's in Seattle. So it's going to be pretty crazy, I think, around here. But if you need to get a hold of anybody, I'll have my cell phone and keep it the best I can along with my laptop when I can. But Katarina's going to be in charge of kind of everything. And then Parker will be around to do a lot of our park maintenance things, just like he's doing now. So trying to get everything in line so when we do these, they don't have a whole lot of questions. But that's just where we're at. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's move into one of the first agenda items. I make a motion to open discussion and possible action to approve the meeting minutes. Actually, I'll just make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 15th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded.
Can we second on one condition, just update the minutes to say May 17th? Because those are our minutes from May 17th, right?
Thank you, Jen.
You're correct.
Good call.
Yep. It's all good. Just approve the minutes from May
We'll consider that a
17th.
friendly, yes. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I totally lost the audio there, so I don't know what happened.
We're approving the meeting minutes from May 17th.
Okay, then I'm on board. I'm good with that then. Aye.
All right, that carries. Next on the agenda is discussion and possible action to make a recommendation to the village board regarding cycling without age program in the village of Cross Plains. Anyone care to make a motion to open discussion and possible action?
I can make a motion to open some discussion.
Thank you.
Yep.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And then all in favor, say aye.
I don't need that really yet. So
Okay.
you can just hand this off to me now.
All right, yeah, please do.
So,
There it is.
so Kevin, Julie, and Paulette are all here. Go through, they can introduce themselves when they come in. But they are here to discuss a new program that they are looking to bring to the village of Cross Plains and our constituents all around, different ages, for a program that they are very excited about. They've already kind of started the fundraising aspect of this, which we're going to as well. We've had a number of meetings. They've had a number of meetings beyond themselves as well about how the program will be carried out. But they wanted to come today to discuss what this program could look like for the village and how we could partner with them. So Who would like to start?
Who should start?
You wanna start, Senator?
So my name's Kevin Coughlin, and I live in Cross Plains here. We're a wife and family, and my daughter has lived here for about 11 years. And we are, so Cycling Without Age is a national nonprofit organization that is trying to get elders out onto a bicycle, a trishaw, and sort of experience, the outdoors and connection back to the community. And it's just a really great program that started in Denmark. And I work for the state of Wisconsin Department of Health Services. And about, 5-6 years ago, I met the founder, Ole Kassau, and he an organization I was working with started the first chapter in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So we were the first chapter in the United States in Wisconsin at that time. And then since I was able to help bring a grant program to get 60 of these trishaws in nursing homes across Wisconsin. So it's just kind of has picked up since then. And I started working with Julie at the state, and she's a pilot, one of the people that rides these people around, and just got the passion and wanted to see if we couldn't bring this to the village and offer it to our elders in both living in their own home. We have a couple assisted living communities here, and see if that would bring that out. And so then we met with Paulette and Mike to see, could we partner, have them kind of be the people that could kind of take this on. We would do all the work pro bono, but we could, we needed sort of a nonprofit to see if we could get grants and do fundraising, and then Mike's connection with the rec department, and it's just a natural connection to getting people out and getting sort of younger people thinking about their parents, and how can we get mom and dad out and into the community more. So that's kind of how it started, and up to Julie.
I'm Julie Highland. We actually lived on Leaden Drive for 10 years and now live on Gills. And so we're right on the border of the village and the town. But I've had my oldest go through school here. My middle one actually now works, now both those two girls both work for Parks and Rec. One was a lifeguard and swim instructor, and the other one's at the day camp. Then my youngest is involved with stingrays and such. So very much a part of the community. In the past, I was a board member with Paulette, and I still volunteer and manage the website. So we're very much involved. And my mother-in-law actually goes to Northwest Dane as well. So we're very much invested in the community. And we know that this is a great program. Having been a pilot, I actually piloted over at Oakwood Village, and taking people out and seeing the responses, and people who are at different stages perhaps of living with dementia. This is a really great way to start conversations with them, maybe open them up to talking. So somebody who's not much of a talker, you get them out on the bike ride, especially in their neighborhood that they grew up, they're gonna start telling you great stories. So that's part of what we're looking to bring here. We have some amazing people, Mr. Esser, Doc, as everybody knows him. We thought would be a really great person to get involved with the program, to go out and do his storytelling, and to share that with the community. And being with Northwest Dane, it's just kind of a natural fit. We would be looking to take out the adult day program participants, as well as the folks who come for congregate meals. And we know there's a need in our community, especially now with COVID for the last year and a half, and people have been isolated. So this is a great way to build relationships, get people outside of their home, and have them as active members of the community. And I talk too much, so I'll hand it off to Paula.
Well, as Mike said, I'm Paula Klon. I'm the executive director at Northwest Dane Senior Services. So yes, when Kevin and Julie talked to me about this, it just seemed like a natural fit. And obviously, Mike and I worked together for quite some time on some different programming already. So it seemed like a win-win on all ends. We could engage the children with the seniors. on that end, we can also do some things with the assisted livings, with which Northwest Dane isn't in a position where we can do a lot with them based on how the county writes some of their contracting. So like transportation and some of our meals and things like that have been more challenging to do once they go into the assisted living. And so many of our clients that we've served for many years go into assisted living, and then there's kind of a disconnect. Why can't I see my friends at Northwest Dane? And this would be one way we could do some of that. It would bridge some of that as I was giving it more thought to the storytelling and things. I've got great relationships with both the assisted livings, but there's been a little bit of that miss on how how the county rates some of the programming with the services that they support. So we do our own independent services because Northwest Dane is an independent 501c3 and we're not 100% funded by the county. So it's just 2 programs that they support. So we can have whatever other programs we want and we can manage those however we want. So this just seemed like a great fit, and it had been talked about even at the county level a couple of years ago. So I think with exactly what Julie said, with the isolation and I mean the real concern with some of the social isolation, mental health, things like that, this could be really huge. And I don't live here in Cross Plains, but have worked with Northwest Dane now for almost 9 years, and it's a very active community, so I don't think finding volunteers is going to be too much of a challenge. People, I think, will step up to the plate and help us, and it's something that they, I think, just like the 2 of them have already done with some other organizations, be very passionate about. So we're very excited that we've already received some grants, and so we've had some interviews already, and so we're very optimistic and excited that some people are responding in such a positive way already. So
Do you guys have any questions about the program for us at all, or about the TriShot, or have you heard of it before?
I had not, and I was excited reading through the packet tonight, especially when I got to the storytelling and community part. Like, that's super cool, is to pass on those generational lessons and just happenings about, what used to be and what is. I think that's super cool and interesting about the program, along with just the benefit of getting mom and dad out of the house.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So what are you looking for, an official partnership with Parks and Rec or just with the village?
Well, it's because Northwest Dane kind of falls under the Parks and Rec, and so this would be a program. I don't know how that's all structured, but we're also needing a place to have the TriShot housed. And so I think that probably falls into kind of the approval piece of where we would be able to have the TriShot housed so it's accessible by volunteers, so that nobody would have to go and run over there and unlock the, you know what I mean? Like
Sure,
something that
sure.
we could be able to serve people. Mike, do you have kind of an idea of
So
like how this?
I think the big thing tonight is to, get what is this program, and really from all of you, what do you see as a partnership? I look at it as nothing but great opportunity for our community, whether it be from the marketing standpoint of us being able to, get information out on a mass media, that either via Facebook newsletter, different information that they're looking for. Obviously, we already do that together with Paulette, so it's kind of a fit. But I think getting even you as village trustees and committee members to understand what the program is and like really what they're looking for, and what the plan is kind of moving forward for you in regards to fundraising and those next steps kind of thing. So tonight is kind of just a kickoff for all that, and then also we've talked about different parts of this, whether it be looking for different pilots throughout our community, looking for storage space, looking for those things. So I think those are things that I think the village can provide. Figuring out the different ways to make that happen, I think there's still something we have to do staff-wise, but making sure that the village board is approval of that, or the committee's approving of that for what their needs are currently, I think is the main cause
Do you have space in mind for storage that you think could work?
Yeah, so our shop itself, so the Park and Rec shop, I think could be a good place for it. We have an area behind our current shop that houses like our utility vehicle, or the van that we use for utilities. We used to use it for recreation purposes, but that's always in there. I think that could be a really good place for it. The police do also store things in that area, so we'd have to talk with them about that, but I think it would be a perfect fit, as you could put a code or a different code that you wanted on there for them to get to that garage door. Or we can come up with another option with keys that we could do as well. We have an option now at Mary's place where we've used a lockbox type key, give everybody a different code. They're able to go into that code, get the key, and go into the building. So that's another option too. It's just coming up with what works best, how much space is really going to be needed, kind of all those things.
I think if we needed some modifications too, that part of the grant that we're getting could potentially pay for that. We're hoping that there wouldn't be any money that the village would have to expend on this project. We want to raise it all. So, and we're doing sort of a three-pronged approach. We've written about 15 grants so far. We've only gotten turned down by one, but a lot of them are still, I think, being reviewed. And then Mike's got the invitation up, so we're doing sort of business invitation. So we're raising awareness. We're going to be recruiting pilots, storytellers, volunteers, and then we're going to have different sponsorships where we can do quite a bit of advertising for them as well, depending on their level of contribution. So, and then on I think September 26th, we're hoping to have our big community event at Xander Park. So we're thinking of getting like a tent and maybe get some food carts down there, possibly some music, and have a real event. And then we're going to borrow a couple trishaws from some of the local chapters, and then give people rides and get them to feel kind of what this could feel like, and take them down on our beautiful bike paths. And so that's kind of our plan. Get most of the money raised by the fall, order our trishaw, it gets shipped from Denmark, and then be ready for next spring to really launch it. So.
I read through all of the stuff in the pack. I think it's great. I don't see any downside. I think it's something the community would really embrace and support. And I think the more, once you actually get it out for those who aren't maybe aware of what's happening, they start seeing this on their own and say, what is that? And, I know you talked about buying a second one, and I would just hope that this would move quickly enough and people would start to recognize it and want to participate in it, or at least support it, that you just really have some real interest there.
Another big feature is getting businesses to become friends. And, so like Crossroads Coffee Shop, if they do, they might give discounts for the trishaw to come, and then that trishaw is in front of their shop, and people are going to come by and what's that? And it's just a lot of in getting those people connected again to the community. They've had a year of isolated in their own homes and not getting out that much. And then our pilots can be family too, so it's a way to get dad out, and then they can, and it's two people, so we're thinking of storyteller plus a elder, but it can be an elder and their daughter, their son, again, getting them connected, their friend that they haven't seen, pick them up on one side of town, go over to the other side, pick that person up, and they have a ride together. So there's just a lot we can do.
I don't remember the information did say, but there is a battery.
Yeah.
So it does help.
It's an assist.
To pedal, yeah. So it's an assist because it could get hard, pedaling
Sure.
to adults, but it with the battery assist, it works great. So.
Jen, did you have a question?
I do actually. I just want to get a little bit more, maybe into the weeds, because being able to offer this to our seniors in Cross Plains is just phenomenal. I'm wondering, would this be offered or available? What if somebody's, parents were visiting from out of state, or, somebody from Middleton says, oh my gosh, did you see that really great trishaw? My friend lives in Cross Plains, and I would like to also, make a reservation to ride on the Cross Plains Tri-Shot, you know, so how would that work? How would that, you know, how could you make a reservation? And who would be Cycling Without Age as kind of the lead point of contact, or would it be possibly the Northwest Dane Senior Services?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually talked about that last week. So we were thinking Northwest Dane would be kind of the central point. There is an app that's going to be available hopefully soon for the pilots to be able to utilize that. But since not everybody has access to technology, we want to have that backup plan to be able to have people get scheduled for rides by calling and asking for help. And it's not going to be restricted to just Cross Plains residents. Because it's really about community building. And so if you have parents visiting, what a great way to show them your community, you know, and if you're a trained pilot, then you can, you know, set it up and be able to take them out, which is great, so. And it's free too. I don't, you know, that is the other piece of it. There's no cost whatsoever to pilots or for anybody who wants to go for a ride.
And do you just plan to, the program will be supported by giving?
Yes.
Just along the way, so there'll be just fundraising that happens.
Correct. Yeah. The biggest investment is really the initial buying the Tri-Shot is the expense.
We're hoping to raise enough for some sustainability for a few years to get us through for the annual cost. And then, but yeah, then probably every once in a while an event, and then social media. It's a, you know, when people start seeing what it is, and I think the donations will come in. I think
so. I'm sorry, I was going to ask, kind of on the dirtier side of all of this, is as far as, you know, if somebody were to get hurt from an insurance perspective, whether that be on the equipment or even on the pilot, you know, what has the initiative, you know, how do they address those aspects?
That's going to have to run through Northwest Dane Senior Services and our liability. We're a private 501c3, so we have our own insurance, our own liability, and so it'll come under an umbrella of senior services for Northwest Dane.
Okay.
We are, the pilots are going to go through some very specific training. And it's going to be hands-on training and some educational training. And then we also will be doing background checks on all the volunteer pilots.
And I mean, Northwest Dane obviously has a policy and procedure for reporting incidents and things like that. But through the training, we'll just have to make sure they have who they need to contact. If it's a 911 emergency versus a call Paulette and figure this out, we'll have to, you know, make sure they have all those contacts and things like that.
You know, would you ever consider, or maybe you already have, when you're talking about the history, other than having peer community members, would you also maybe tap into the Historical Society at all for some of that, or?
Oh yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah.
I don't think there's a limit. I think the sky's the limit. There's lots of people and interests, and you know, one of the things by kind of going through some of the current clients that we already know, we know some of their likes and dislikes. So if to kind of get it started, if people, you know, are a little bit slower and reserved, our case manager too, we can work with and find out, you know, what are their likes and dislikes? Do they really just adore children? Can we find a child that can sit in the buggy with them and talk? Or is it a dog lover? Can, you know, somebody that has dogs sit and talk dogs? Or if it's a man that loves the Packers, you know, you get a Packer pilot and they talk Packers. My husband, you know, cared for a Packer, so he's always got stories that go back to, you know, Lombardi days. And so those are easy to do because, you know, with most of our clients, we have a good understanding of that already. And then if there's just a short little interview when someone signs up, if they, you know, have a special ask, I think there should be no reason we can't try to accommodate that.
We have an Olympian in
Yeah, we have an Olympian, yep. Casey Fitzgerald.
Oh, he'd be very willing. He's
Yeah.
generous of his time and,
He's probably got the leg power.
Yeah.
I say, he would need the battery.
Do you see an age restriction in regards to pilots?
Yeah, I would say that we would be looking at probably 18 is what
pilots.
yeah. That's what I would think for an adult, just to make sure that for insurance liability and things like that, yeah. So,
And as far as those who were given rides, is there an age limit really that, I know you probably have a group you're aiming for, but technically, how do you manage that?
so we'd be looking for seniors, so, and like the 65 and up.
60 and older is,
60 and
our mission
older.
is 60 and older, so we'd stay consistent with
Okay.
Northwest Dane's mission of 60 and older.
Yeah. And I would also say that, because I've seen like some of the other programs, they also take out individuals who are disabled too.
Excellent.
You know, so I think that would also open it up to other community members too.
Yep.
If we can take people up who, you know, I think that would be really important as well. So
I'd have to
we
look,
have to look at that.
Yeah.
well, because of our insurance. So if we're going to be, if Northwest Dane is going to be insured, it has to fall under our programming. And developmentally disabled is not, if it's somebody that's younger with Alzheimer's dementia,
Yeah,
that would be okay.
okay.
And they're part of our programming, but we may have to, I'm all for it, but I gotta make sure our insurance, so I don't want anyone to think it's just gonna open up and because, just because our insurance, is 60 and older,
Sorry
or
about that.
Alzheimer's dementia.
No. Well, and maybe down the road, you know, that could be something if it really is a great success and something you want to open to special needs.
Maybe
kiddos,
that's
people, that's a place the village.
Where the
can
village,
potentially step in
Yep.
and
Yeah, I was
Again, I
gonna
don't
say that,
know.
but didn't want to really yet, just check with ours as well.
down the
I mean,
road, yes.
The nice thing about village side of things is you have recreational immunity, so you usually with programming aspects, unless there's negligence,
Right.
there really can't be a suit. And so that's nice, and now when you start getting out into streets and all those places, there's
We get a little
things that
cooler.
change there, but providing you're not on private property, you usually have,
Mhm.
you don't have any, you can still, but you usually don't have any issues.
Sure,
in regards to that. So that could be another, sponsor aspect or another way for the village to contribute possibly. Maybe even be a resolution, or I don't know what route of that we have to go, but I think that,
Communities have figured this out, so
Yeah.
it can't be terrible.
So do you want a recommendation to the board from us?
Yeah, I think that'd be great, more or less just right in line with, their mission and kind of what they're looking to do. Obviously for the village standpoint, being able to just have staff work with them in regards to the programming, marketing, and possibly storage as well. I think there's some implementation aspects of this that will come through as everything starts to become more real per se. I mean, I think you're about, 2-3 months kind of in on all of this as well.
Yeah.
But once funding and things really start coming forward, there's some implementation things that we could sit down and kind of go over with staff to see what would work best for people.
Would you put an agreement together, Mike,
Correct.
when some of those decisions are made just about, the use of certain,
Yeah, I think.
or whatever?
Or, what would be maybe ideal for you, I'm not sure, I could ask Bill, our administrator, but you may want a resolution from the village board supporting this project in general. It may help you in regards to
Yeah.
fundraising efforts,
Yeah.
or even the program itself moving on to something bigger. As more trails and things get established, maybe this is a really big hub for a program like this, right? But a resolution may be nice to have even next week for the village board meeting as you give this discussion. So we just have to know exactly what, in a resolution, we want exactly what they're gonna be supporting, I guess, so.
So, first of all, thank you so much for coming here tonight and telling us about, and doing all of the legwork on the front end of this and the fundraising to bring a program like this to Cross Plains. It's super amazing and greatly appreciated. I would move that we recommend to the village board to support the Cycling Without Age program in the village of Cross Plains and to support a resolution of the same objective. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, that carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Mike,
you.
real quick, because the village already supports Northwest Dayton, is there a certain way we need to kind of word this? I mean, because this is really truly a program of Northwest Dayton because of how we have to write grants and funding and things like that. And so when we're presenting and writing a resolution, I mean, there's already a significant amount that we are in the village budget. So I just want to make sure we get the verbiage kind of correct
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
we're asking.
And really, I think, I mean, it's like you coming to the village board to say, hey, what do you think about this opportunity?
Okay.
You know, you're not asking for extra funds.
No, there's no extra
For
funding.
this, so I think it's okay, more of just a support aspect, you know,
Okay.
maybe a resolution, I think is good.
Alright.
It's two separate, you know.
In a sense it is.
It's more just saying, yes, we support
Yes.
this program and or you working with other departments to make it come to
Yes.
fruition.
And then would we need another agreement like we have for the space usage?
Yeah, I think we just do something very.
It would be the
similar to
opposite
that.
direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So do you need like draft language for that resolution?
I think-
Tuesday?
I think we could probably get started with it.
Okay.
And then maybe send it to you, maybe there's other, you know, other avenues that other departments have went or other cities have went even.
Okay.
Or even like Oakwood or other ones that have went different ways if they haven't, those types of things, we can do it later. So,
All right,
Alright, sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, next up, I'll make a motion to move into discussion regarding No Mow May in 2022. Can I get a second for that, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sounds like a great idea. Let's just
So I'm gonna
go.
let
Be
Andy.
done.
Yeah, sure.
Take
So-
away with this.
Some village residents sort of notified me about No Mow May and this movement to basically in the month of May encourage growth in, you know, primarily what they're looking at is in general residential properties, but I thought since Parks and Recs has so much space and land that we maintenance, that we should maybe talk about it on the Parks and Rec committee for being just a possible policy for Parks and Rec. I know Mike let me know that sustainability was also taking a look at making recommendations on the No Mow May for just general residences in the village of Cross Plains. But it basically just helps get the spring started, pollinators up and active, and just a healthier environment. And so I thought maybe we could just spend a minute talking about, you know, some of the pros and cons of having No Mow May for all Parks and Rec facilities, if that's possible for all Parks and Rec facilities, and then just kind of maybe tag teaming with sustainability to make recommendations to the village board for residents, but also for public rec lands.
I'm assuming there are some athletic fields that wouldn't be possible, but what about other more general use parks? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you know, coming from my side of things, I think obviously it's gonna cut down on costs for the month of May, in regards to, you know, us mowing and doing other maintenance around the parks. I do question though how much it'll add in June, when we do need to do our first cut. You know, at that point, you're looking at, having hay, you know, are we gonna, you know, bring in a baler and try and bale all this up, or, you know, what is our next option? Because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of grass around for us to try and get rid of them. And then, you know, the complaints will definitely start piling up in regards to grass being tracked into their homes or, you know, the way it looks. I think the biggest thing would be putting out a message really early on that this is what, you know, the village is doing. And maybe, you know, we pilot the program itself, like in a couple of neighborhood type parks. And then, you know, see how well that goes and push it off into other areas, you know, as we go. I don't know, I don't know, I didn't get a hold of Verona, their parks director. I talked to other ones in there, but just to see how the program went there, you know, if they did this pilot in all their parks or if they didn't do it, I wasn't sure. I knew that they did it for residential properties, but I didn't know if they did it for themselves, so. I think we'd be getting more information from these other communities about what worked for them and what really didn't. I think it's great overall. I think it's a really good initiative and what we're trying to accomplish. It's just how do we accomplish then, you know, getting things back to normal, after that, it takes some time, for sure.
The idea of piloting or the idea of just doing a couple parks to
Yeah.
start, but maybe visible parks or parks so that people start to say, hey, what's going on there? And have some
Signage or
some little signage or something to say, hey, we're doing no mow May, and we encourage people at their residences to do the same.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so sustainability did take this up last week at their meeting. No, there wasn't any action taken at that point, as they have a lot of things they were trying to figure out, I believe. They wanted to do more or less like a sign up, so you have to sign up through the village. The one thing that the village board would have to do is change an ordinance for the month of May to allow for such to happen, which is what all the other communities did as well. As you know, grass can't be over so many inches, and you can't have weeds and thistle and all that stuff growing up in there. So,
Would we have to do that for Parks and Rec though?
I think overall, so we always fall under the same ordinance and umbrella, so we would have to do it for all public land as well.
So I put together about 10 minutes of notes on this topic. So it's some of it's relative to Parks and Rec, some of it's relative to residential, but I did want to share that really quick research online, as I could see Appleton, Fort Atkinson, Fox Crossing, Wausau, Stevens Point. There's a lot of communities in the state that are participating in this program. And as you said, some of the blockers or some of the, I guess, feedback was that residents felt like it was unsightly, that there was, grasses that could get as tall as 18 inches long. And so when you think about what that's going to do to our public mowing services in June, as you said, Mike, I mean, we can't just like cut them all down. I mean, you might have to go over them multiple times. I mean, there's some rhyme or reason also to how much grass you probably take off at a time. Would that, do weeds start piling up, or does the grass actually mitigate those weeds? That would be something we'd want to consider also. Like you said, that there would be probably a need to have some ordinances changed. I'm also thinking about the impacts, and maybe this is more residential, of some of the services in town. Nate drives around with his mowing. I mean, that's for residential. Lawns Unlimited comes in for thatching. Now that's usually earlier before May, but these are all things. And, then, some residents will need to postpone some of their lawn services, so other services. So there could be a vendor impact on the residential side that needs to, maybe that's for sustainability to consider. But I also did think that it would be important to put signage up. Maybe it's a yard sign, and maybe it's a B, to show that this area, whether it be Parks and Rec or even the residential piece, that, I'm participating in No Mow May. And that's kind of a campaign and also acknowledgement that, we still care, this is intentional. They could even do, this is getting a little weedier, but they have those pollinator houses. So is there like some kind of a program about pollinator houses that could somehow supplement, this initiative? Just to kind of strengthen what we're all trying to achieve, So anyway, that's some of what I put together. And I just wanted to, but I think it really supports our brand of being outdoor and outdoor recreation, who want to be part of the drift list, or at least kind of branded as part of the drift list, come out to us. It promotes pollinators that spread our native foliage, that, support the native fauna, that supports our creeks. So I do think that this program has a lot of merits, but I think some of these questions will probably come up on the board.
Don't forget, it also gets me out of mowing my lawn in May.
Oh, I know, Andy, I know.
Yeah, all very, very good points. I'm just wondering maybe if this is sort of like, here's something to think about. I like Melissa's idea a lot about, having like maybe some test areas to not only test the costs benefit of Neighbors June, but also to advertise and get the word out so people can see what's going on. And maybe Mike just coming back with some ideas on, I guess, some recommendations on what that might look like
Yeah,
as far as like locations and or maybe just waiting to hear back from some of the other municipalities about how they've been dealing with Domo May, and if Verona's Parks and Rec is actually participating, or if it's just residents. Because that would be a big, interesting answer.
And just identifying areas, Mike, that you think could work. So, could the south side of Xander, just in that stretch of grassy area
Well, like next to the fence.
between
Yeah.
the path and the tracks, basically.
Yeah.
Is that an area where you could try it and have some signs up along the way? I know we had different storyboard things and stuff happening there, but could you identify a couple places like that we could try it out and see what it looks like as far as actual height of the grass? By when, of course, that all is, I think, dependent upon the weather somewhat through April and May, but.
yeah, I'm a little reluctant to say like, okay, well, I'll give you a couple pilot, areas, because I know what will happen is the neighbors in that area that aren't for this are going to be coming on flocks.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to how we made such a decision. So I would really want, what I would prefer is that, we may have, this committee or even Andy show up to the sustainability committee and have more discussions with them and kind of where they're going.
Sure.
And, whether or not, if they want to see this come to fruition for next year, then I think, not that your initiative and our committee couldn't do it on our own, because I think we could, but I'd obviously want this to all go through the village board for approval. And I'm wondering if you do want that location aspect, do we send out a survey or even contact the local neighbors to that park or that area to come to our meeting to have this discussion with us, beforehand. I think I would much rather be proactive in that way, whether we put out letters or flyers or whatever, door to door if we have to, prior to doing it, than to have them react to it once they're calling us to say, why haven't you moved this yet? Because I know that'll be an issue. So.
Yeah, well, the nice side about the south side of Xander is there aren't any houses adjacent to
True.
it. So that's, it's sort of an isolated area that I don't know the lawn area that gets much use anyway. And if you had the north side, it's just, I don't know, just the thought that might be a nice space to consider using.
Yeah, I think the goal is just to get it on an agenda and let's hear some
Have some
thoughts.
thoughts,
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just hear some thoughts, what's out there.
Sounds good.
So for next month, do you want me to come with a few possible locations? Obviously, that's the Xander is obviously.
Well, just to think about, and then even take that to the sustainability committee and just talk it through.
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. How can we collaborate? Okay.
Something that you think will work for you.
Board, but I'll have, Jennifer, if you could forward me your notes or even the different communities that you have on there, because I would love to contact some of them.
For sure.
Ask, where if they've done this within their parks and kind of get feedback from them. That'd be great. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sure thing.
All right, I move that we go into a discussion regarding the addition of a dog park within the Village Cross Plains.
All right, so this has brought itself up to us again. I don't know, Melissa, were you on the committee last time you did this? Okay, you were. So you remember the meetings that we had. We had a number of meetings that were just like this, where we were the only ones in attendance, and we looked at different land that we could use within the village for a dog park. And we got to the point where we even got funding for the project, and we were moving forward, fencing and parking lot and all those things. So at the time, we had chosen 3 spots. The 3 spots that were on there were behind your home, so the Stotts Conservancy area. The other one was the Hillenbrand area. So right off of Hillenbrand would be Glacial Valley Conservancy where the Ice Age goes through. And then the last one was Raspberry Park on the east side. We went through different parameters of what we really needed this space to meet. I kind of put those again in our packet for information, but we needed 2 to 5 acres. We needed to be central, well-lit location, good drainage, allow for 5 to 6 foot fencing, ADA accessibility, allow for a parking lot, and have a buffer zone between residents. At the time when we looked at all of these properties, the only property that really met almost all of these things was the Raspberry Park east side location where the current baseball field is. So the committee had motioned to approve of that dog park to be located in an area. And went to the village board, got funding, like I had said, and then came back for more discussion once the neighbors had found out that this was kind of going on. So just like the normal May, doing this all over again, I would have went door to door to all these people when we were talking about this at the beginning, once we found the location. But they did at least hear about it and came to the meeting where the committee itself was making a recommendation to the board for final approval for fencing and location. At that time, the committee decided to scrap that idea, no longer put the dog park at Raspberry Park, and to put it in a new development that was to happen, we thought actually by now, up on the Ladopolis property, which is just north of the village of Cross Plains. If you look at the map here, if you look at the map here, the location is up here, kind of in green, of where the dog park was. The plan from the committee at that point was to say, hey, as they start to do their conceptual plans, make sure that we have the dog park listed. As they go and do the preliminary plat and then final plat, it's listed on there already as a dog park. So when people are buying lots, they know that that area would be a dog park. Currently, the plan is still in play. The Ladopolis is still planning to develop this area. There's just really no timeline at when this is going to actually happen. So at the last board meeting, Bill Brocious had asked for the Parks Committee to once again look at possible locations for a dog park, providing this property doesn't come into the village. And so what I've done is I've given you our current mapping, which doesn't have the newest addition that we have up here, but our current mapping of all of our village parks and or conservancy areas, along with the trails that kind of go about within those. And on the last page here is the actual map that we'd already done for future. So this is in our parks and open space plan, and it kind of discusses the potential areas for dog park, potential trail loop that we'd like to see all the way around the outside of the village. So there's all kinds of different options or planned options for the future. And what we tried to do when we put this map together is actually find different locations for a planned dog park. So you'll see pink, up here, you'll see pink down in the Brunner farm, up on the Brunner Conservancy area. Now Hartum owns all that. Also over on the Rip farm, you'll see areas for this. So we kind of already, I felt like as a committee, plan the potential for other dog park areas. But what Bill and or the board would like is for this committee now again to look at other options. So obviously the pink options are still options, but what are some other areas? We have new development that's happened along here, which is the Scenic Valley. Scenic Valley development. Is there some area within that we could use? There's obviously the area back here, which is now owned by Wingra, pretty much under construction, but is there something that we could do within that area? There's some land that's for sale within here because we purchased that property and put a dog park within that. So the direction from me is for all of you to kind of go home and circle different areas, maybe even hit up different parks. There'll be another development out here that's going to be looking for final plat anytime now. Is there something within that we could do? Might be a little late as they're going to final plat, but is there something off of the property, that we could do this? So the village will be getting some land out here for floodplain mitigation issues that we're trying to mitigate. However, could this be a mixed use for mitigation and also dog park? You know, is that a possibility?
So that's a cross P you're talking about?
Yeah, so that'd be on this side of P.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be roughly, I think it's 15 acres or so. So it's like this little,
Just north of the loop.
yeah, it's just right here. So is that an option?
Yes.
So, yeah, and are there other areas, you know, that are outside the current village limits that we could, you know, go to somebody and ask, hey, you're looking to sell your property, would you like to put a dog park on this property? Or are you looking to deed your property? Anything like that, so.
Has anyone ever heard of a private dog park in Cross Plains in the village or in the town of?
So I believe there is a private dog park in the town of Cross Plains.
Yeah.
So it's out off of Middle Point Road, or roughly
Oh,
there, I believe.
okay.
So it's a good distance out. And so what people are looking for is an area they can walk to from home, usually,
Mhm.
or it's a short drive, right outside of town. From my standpoint of just different dog parks that I went to that are highly used are much larger than 2 acres. Usually even much larger than 5 acres. And there may be mixed uses within them, but they're mainly set up as for a dog park. The one in Middleton, for instance, that's off of Q, it's the old.
Yahara.
Yeah,
Yahara with the lake.
yeah, it has soccer kind of set up, you know, on the
Yep.
front of it, and then you drive up into the back, and it's a really nice dog park along there. They have wood chips that just kind of go around in a loop, but, you know, people really like it. I think about the one in Wanakee, if you go in off of P, and I drive past every day now, and I very seldom see dogs there. You have roughly 2 acres of land probably that's just flat, you know, take a dog and throw a ball around, but that's really not what people are looking for right now, I don't think.
So I go to Indian Lake
Yeah,
because, I mean, it's beautiful. How many acres is that?
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty large.
Yeah.
You know, that's a nice, because it's not really fenced. I mean, it is along the road kind of area, right? But the rest
Cross
of
the
it,
bridge and then you're
Yeah.
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of neat. But yeah, I think, you know, looking at it for ourselves, what I would like to see, I guess, for the committee is for all of you to just kind of look at the different parameters, you know, that we had set up before. The 2 to 5 acres is fine, but, you know, the central well-lit location may not be, you know, as important, but good drainage, allow for fencing, ADA accessibility. And I think the big one for me, I know we need a buffer, but I think the big one is having a parking lot of some sort. A lot of our parks now, and even the one that, you know, we talked about at Raspberry Park, there's a lot of people that park on the street, and then, you know, we already don't have a lot of sidewalks, so it makes it really hard for people to be safe getting, and then now when you're getting dogs out of your car and you're doing that, I find that the parking lot aspect is kind of important. So I would recommend we just, you know, do some homework, look at different locations. I've done a lot of this already, but I think it'd be good to have some new eyes look at it and just, are there
Do
other
you want to give us assignments to divide and conquer?
divide and conquer, yeah. I mean, good, yeah. Like in regards to this map, whoops.
Is there a willingness or a possibility to say, talk about the Rip Farm, which my understanding is they're not ready to sell, but is there any way, I'm sure they rent out. Is there a way that we could rent out property, just put a
Lease it,
gravel
yeah.
parking lot and a fence on it and have an agreement like that?
I mean, anything's possible. This is where, you know, that's a kind of, I think, discussion that we need to have, or you need to kind of do internally, and then, you know, is that an option for us, kind of bring it to the table, kind of thing.
Is Scenic Valley still on the table?
Scenic Valley's on the table, absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion from the mountain biking group about Scenic Valley, so that'd be this whole area out here. Anything that's kind of in this teal color will be owned by the village soon.
That's Hillside, right? Isn't it?
No, so this, they don't have names yet. So this is all Scenic Valley Conservancy. So this is the new development
Right.
out here. There'll be a 2-acre park right here,
Mm-hmm.
and then there'll be water retention area as well. So the 2 acres is like roughly right here.
Yeah.
And then there'll be parkland in front of this as well. The trail is already complete, so if you go out there, you can kind of see the trail. The mountain bikers have discussed, being able to extend their mountain biking trails over to this side. So they may be coming to us in the near future for that, but I think now's the time to talk about, could this area be dual purpose, or could we do just a dog park in this area? Or the old area that's kind of it's got inside that they're taking all the dirt and landscaping materials from is for sale right now, so is that another option? Dane County's looking at doing a partnership with some municipality for a bike park, which would be on the line of more of like a mountain biking BMX area, but is there enough area within that to do those things and a dog park?
That's up the hill, right?
Yeah, so if you were to drive in the current lot, it's roughly where this, it goes kind of around here, it goes in, right? So you see the
Yep, gotcha.
location right there. So you can see like the driveway goes right here. So this area right here is what's for sale.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the RIP would be a good discussion point, I think the Brunner would be a really good, I personally think the Brunner property, even just along here, could serve a really good dog
Yep.
park in that area.
That was my thought too. In the
Cheer.
I'd love
also
to
thought
see
that the
park
full-time-
soccer fields there.
For the Brunner or the RIP?
Well, Rick would be nice, but even Brenner, if you could put some athletic field right in that spot.
Yeah, his property gets pretty wet.
Yes.
When you look at this map, you can see where it's dark, it means that it's wet. This whole area along here is owned by the DNR.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the creek that goes along,
Right.
the spring that goes into the Black Earth Creek. And then Ice Age has bought up a lot of it as well. But yeah,
Okay.
So, I don't know, my thought was for everyone just to kind of take this whole map and look at different areas, and we could come back at the next meeting and kind of discuss what what areas you thought could serve for this purpose. Ideally, I think we would look at property that the village currently already owns rather than going out, but now would be the time if we wanted to purchase property that it should be put in the CIP, our
Mhm.
capital improvement plan for those purposes, so.
So come back with your top three.
Top 3 locations, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe do 3 locations that we currently own and 3 locations that we don't. Have each person do that, and we can write them up on the board and give our pros and cons for all of them at the next meeting.
Sounds like a plan.
That sound good?
Is Raspberry Park off the table?
I don't think it's off the table, but it's up to you guys. And girls.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Does that sound good?
Oh, it sounds like a plan to me. Any questions lingering out there?
When are we meeting in August, or is that interfere with your vacation?
I'm back. I'll be back on the 14th,
Okay.
so
I won't be gone until the 17th.
17th.
Is that?
So our meeting is supposed to be the 16th, so yeah. That's good. Good call, Jen. See, you're always on this stuff. Let's do this for.
We could just bump it a week.
Well, the village board meeting will be on the 23rd.
Okay.
Do we want to shoot for a Thursday or something like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Would that work?
What Thursday?
So, yeah, because I guess the hard thing will be getting a packet out, because I'll be gone this whole time.
Maybe we could just do it after
Village
Thursday
board.
after the village board.
Well, as of right now, there's really nothing that we would need to do before the village board
Or we
meeting.
could set something up if we need to.
Yeah.
You want to do the Wednesday, the 25th of August?
Let's do it.
Is that good for you, Jen?
Wait, I gotta think. It is. The 25th is good.
All right.
26th is not good. 25th is good.
Okay, so Wednesday, August 25th at 6 p.m.
That's good for me.
Well, there you are. Perfect. That's good with it too.
All right. Thank you, Jen.
All right.
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Nice.
Thanks, everyone.
You stand adjourned.
You guys.
Hey, Mike.